The girl who was not human the evening was cold and quiet. The sky above the city was gray, and the wind moved slowly between the buildings. People were walking fast, busy with their own problems. No one looked at anyone else. Armand sat alone on a broken bench near an old bus stop. His clothes were simple. His shoes were old. In his hands, he held a small lunchbox. It was not special. Just 2 pieces of bread and some rice left from yesterday. It was his only food for the day. He looked tired. Life had not been kind to him. He worked small jobs. Sometimes he earned enough. Sometimes he did not. Today was not a good day. He opened the lunchbox slowly. The smell of cold rice touched the air. He was about to take his first bite when he heard a soft sound. It was not loud. It was not clear. Just a weak voice. He stopped eating. He looked around. At first, he saw nothing. Cars moved on the road. People passed by. A dog barked far away. Then he noticed her. Behind a broken wall, near a pile of trash bags, a girl was sitting on the ground. She looked young, maybe 19 or 20. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her hair covered half of her face. She was shaking. Armand felt something strange in his chest. Many poor people sat in that area every day. But this was different, very different. The girl slowly lifted her head. Their eyes met. Armand froze. Her eyes were not normal. They were light blue, not natural blue. They were glowing softly, like a weak light inside them. For 1 second, he thought it was just his imagination. But then he saw it again. A small blue shine. The girl tried to stand up, but failed. She looked very weak. People walked past her. No one stopped. One man even looked at her and turned his face away. Armand swallowed slowly. His hands tightened around his lunchbox. He told himself, "This is not my problem." But his feet did not listen. Without thinking too much, he stood up and walked toward her. Each step felt heavy. When he got closer, he noticed something even stranger. Her skin looked too smooth, almost like glass. There were small thin lines on her neck, like faint glowing marks. She looked at him carefully. Her voice came out broken and slow. "I am hungry." Her words sounded strange, like she was learning how to speak. Armand looked at his lunchbox. It was all he had. If he gave it away, he would not eat tonight. He hesitated. The wind blew harder. For a moment, he felt like the air around them became colder. The girl's eyes flickered again. This time, brighter. Not normal. Not human. Armand's heart beat fast. He could walk away. No one would blame him. No one was even watching. Something inside him refused. Slowly, without saying anything, he sat down in front of her. He opened his lunchbox fully. He held it out to her. She stared at the food like she had never seen it before. Then she slowly reached out her hand. When her fingers touched the bread, a soft blue light moved under her skin. Armand saw it clearly this time. His breathing stopped. Her hands were cold. Not normal cold. Ice cold. She began eating slowly. Very slowly. Like she was learning how to eat. Tears filled her eyes. But they were not normal tears. They shined slightly. After a few bites, she looked at him again. This time, her voice was stronger. "You helped me." Armand tried to speak, but no words came out. The streetlights above them suddenly flickered. 1, 2, 3 times. The air felt heavy. She stood up. She did not look weak anymore. She looked different. Stronger. The dirt on her clothes seemed less visible. Her posture changed. She stepped closer to him. People around them continued walking, but it felt like no one could see what was happening. She leaned near him and whispered softly, "I will return." Armand's body felt frozen. After 7 days, the wind suddenly stopped. Everything became silent. For 1 second, her eyes shined bright blue, brighter than before, and then she stepped backward into the shadow behind the broken wall and disappeared. Not walked away, not ran. She vanished. Armand jumped to his feet. He ran behind the wall. No one was there. No sound. No footprints. Nothing. His heart pounded loudly in his ears. He looked at his empty lunchbox still. In his hand, his fingers were shaking. Above him, one streetlight burst with a small spark. The air felt colder than before. Armand slowly whispered to himself. She was not human. Far above the clouds, hidden behind the dark sky, something large moved silently, watching 7 days had begun. The next morning, Armand woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. For a few seconds, he thought it was all a dream. The glowing eyes, the cold air, the way she disappeared. But then he looked at his empty lunchbox on the small table near his bed. It was real. He sat up slowly. His head hurt. His body felt weak because he had not eaten dinner. But something else felt different too. The room felt strange, too quiet. He shook his head and told himself it was just some trick. Maybe I was tired. He got ready and left for work. The city looked normal. Cars moved. People argued. Shopkeepers shouted. Everything was the same. But when Armand walked past a streetlight, it flickered. He stopped. It flickered again. Then it went back to normal. He looked around. No one else reacted. He continued walking. A few minutes later, his phone vibrated in his pocket. He checked it. The screen was full of strange symbols, blue lines, shapes he had never seen before. He blinked. The screen returned. To normal, he felt cold sweat on his neck. "This is not possible," he whispered. At work, he could not focus. He dropped tools. He forgot simple instructions. His boss shouted at him twice. Every time he tried to concentrate, he remembered. Her eyes, that soft blue glow. That voice. After 7 days, why 7 days? What would happen? He laughed nervously at himself. Nothing will happen, he said in his mind. She was just a strange girl. But deep inside, he knew the truth. She was not human. That evening, something even stranger happened. When Armand walked through a narrow street near his house, all the dogs in the area started barking at the same time. Not normal barking. It sounded afraid. The dogs were not looking at him. They were looking at the sky. Armand slowly looked up. The sky was clear, but for 1 second, just 1 second, he thought he saw a shadow moving above the clouds. Huge, silent. Then it was gone. His heart began to beat fast again. He walked home quickly. That night he could not sleep. Every small sound made him sit up. At exactly midnight, his phone turned on by itself. The room was dark, but the screen glowed blue. Not normal light, blue. The same blue as her eyes. Words appeared on the screen, but they were not in any language he knew. Strange symbols moved slowly across the display. Armand tried to turn it off. It would not turn off. Suddenly, the screen went black again. The phone battery was still full. He placed it far away from his bed. His hands were shaking. 7 days. He whispered again. Day 2 passed. Then, day 3. Each day, something unusual happened. Street cameras near him stopped working. Traffic lights turned green when he arrived. Electronic devices glitched when he touched them. Once, when he looked in the mirror, he thought he saw a small, blue mark on his wrist. He quickly turned on the light. The mark was gone. He told no one. Who would believe him? On day 4, he returned to the broken wall where he first met her. The place looked normal. Flashbacks. Broken bricks, Nothing special. He stood there. For a long time. Who are you? He whispered into the empty air. No answer came. But a cold wind touched his face. On day 5, he felt something new. He did not feel alone anymore. Even in crowded places, he felt like someone was watching him carefully. Not in a dangerous way, but in a protective way. Like invisible eyes were following his every move. Day 6 arrived. Armin woke up suddenly in the middle of the night. His wrist was burning. He looked down. There it was, a small blue symbol glowing softly on his skin. It was the same shape he saw on his phone screen before. It did not hurt badly, but it felt warm. The symbol pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Armin stared at it in shock. "This cannot be real," he whispered. Then, slowly, the symbol faded. But this time, it did not disappear fully. A faint mark remained. He understood something in that moment. She did not forget him. Whatever she was connected to him now. The next day would be the 7th day. Armin stood near his window and looked at the dark sky. Clouds were moving slowly. The air felt heavy again. He remembered her last words clearly. "I will return after 7 days." His fear was still there. But something else had grown stronger. Curiosity and a strange feeling of destiny. Far above the earth, hidden beyond human sight, silent shapes moved between the stars. And somewhere in the darkness, someone was preparing to return. The 7th day arrived quietly, too quietly. From the morning, Armin felt a strange pressure in the air. The sky looked normal, but the sunlight felt weak, like it was hiding behind something unseen. Even the birds were silent. He tried to work, but his hands would not stay steady. Every small sound made him turn his head. Every passing shadow made his heart beat faster. He kept checking his wrist. The faint blue mark was still there, waiting. As evening came, the air grew colder. People walked home quickly, unaware that something was about to change. At exactly the same time he had met her 1 week ago, Armin found himself walking toward the broken wall again. He did not know why. His feet simply moved. The street was less crowded today. A few cars passed. The wind moved dust along the road. He stood near the wall and looked around. Nothing. He let out a slow breath. "Maybe I imagined everything," he said softly. Then all the streetlights went out at once. The entire block fell into darkness. Cars stopped in the middle of the road. People shouted in confusion. Armin's heart began to race. Above him, the sky slowly changed color. It was not bright, it was not dramatic, but it was wrong. The dark blue sky slowly turned into a deep purple shade, like ink spreading through water. The air vibrated slightly. A low humming sound filled the space around him. It was soft but powerful. He looked up. At first, he saw nothing. Then the stars above him started disappearing. One by one, not because of clouds, because something was blocking them. Something massive. His breathing became heavy. A shape slowly revealed itself in the sky. It looked transparent, almost invisible. But as it moved, it bent the light around. It was huge. Far bigger than any airplane. Far bigger than any building. A silent ship, floating above the city. People below could not see it clearly. Some just looked confused. Some felt scared without knowing why. But Armin could see it. Clearly, his wrist suddenly began to glow bright blue. The symbol burned softly. The humming sound grew louder. Then a soft blue light appeared behind the broken wall. Armin slowly turned. She stepped out of the shadows, but she was not weak anymore. Her clothes were no longer dirty. They were smooth and silver, shining faintly in the dark. Her hair? moved gently even though there was no wind. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, confident, powerful. She walked toward him slowly. Each step felt controlled, calm. Armand could not speak. She stopped in front of him. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then she smiled softly. "You waited," she said. Her voice was clear now, strong, no longer broken. Armand swallowed. "You said 7 days." She nodded. Above them, the massive ship shifted slightly. A soft beam of light moved across the sky like a scanner. "My name," she said gently, "is not important in your language." Armand stared at her in shock. You are not from here," he whispered. She tilted her head slightly. "No, I am not." The ground vibrated softly. "In your world, I appeared weak. I had no power. My energy was gone. I was being hunted." Armand felt cold. "Hunted?" She nodded. "I am the daughter of a galactic commander. My people rule many star systems, but we have enemies." Armand looked at the giant ship above. "That is yours." Yes, he felt dizzy. Yes. She continued calmly. "My escape pod crashed near your planet. I hid among your people. If the wrong human found me, they would have reported me. My enemies would have destroyed this world to capture me." Armand's eyes widened. "Destroyed? Earth?" She looked directly into his eyes. "Yes." The words felt heavy. "But you," she said softly, "did something unexpected." He stayed silent. "You gave your last food to a stranger." Armand felt embarrassed. "It was nothing," he said quietly. She stepped closer. "For my people, kindness without reason is rare. You did not ask who I was. You did not expect. Reward, you chose compassion." Above them, the giant ship slowly became more visible, like it no longer cared about hiding. Soft lights glowed across its surface. "My fleet arrived 3 days ago," she continued. "They watched you." Armand's heart skipped. "They watched me." "Yes, they studied you, your actions, your behavior, and—" She smiled slightly. "They are impressed." Suddenly, the air behind her shimmered. 3 tall figures appeared, stepping out of thin air. They wore dark armor that reflected blue light. Their faces were not fully human. Their eyes glowed like hers. Armand stepped back in fear. She raised her hand gently. "They will not harm you." The armored beings stood still, observing him silently. The sky above rumbled softly. "Tonight," she said calmly, "your destiny changes." Armand felt the weight of her words. "I do not understand," he said. "You will," she replied. The ship above slowly opened a circular light in its center. A beam of soft blue energy reached toward the ground. People in the distance screamed, confused by the strange lights in the sky. But here, near the broken wall, time felt slower. Quieter, she extended her hand toward Armand. "Come with me," she said gently. "See the truth beyond your world." His heart pounded loudly. Fear, wonder, confusion, but also something else. Hope. Above them, the stars seemed to move aside, and the universe was waiting. Armand stared at her outstretched hand. The blue beam from the sky surrounded them in soft light. The air felt warm inside the beam, even though the night around them was cold. The 3 armored beings stood silent. Watching him carefully, his heart was beating fast. "Why me?" he finally asked. The alien girl looked at him with calm eyes. "Because you chose kindness when you had nothing." Before he could say anything more, the beam of light grew brighter. The ground slowly disappeared under his feet. He felt weightless. The city below became smaller and smaller. Cars looked like tiny toys. Buildings became little boxes. Within seconds, they were rising into the sky. Armand wanted to scream, but no sound came out. His body was frozen with shock. The ship above opened like a silent door of light. The beam pulled them inside smoothly, and then they were no longer in the sky. They were inside something massive. The floor under his feet was smooth and silver. The walls were alive with moving blue lines, like energy flowing through veins. The air smelled clean and fresh. Armand turned slowly in every direction. It was not just a ship, it was like a floating city. Tall, glowing pillars reached up to a ceiling he could barely see. Transparent screens showed stars, planets, and strange symbols. Beings moved quietly across the hall. Some looked almost human, others looked completely different. He felt very small. The alien girl stood beside him. "This is our command vessel," she said softly. "It hides between dimensions. Your people cannot see it." Armand swallowed hard. "This is real." "Yes." The three armored guards stepped forward and bowed slightly to her. Armand looked at her with new eyes. "You are important," he said slowly. She nodded once. "I am called Lyra among my people." "Lyra," he repeated quietly. She led him forward through the glowing hall. The floor lit up under their steps. Strange screens moved aside as they passed. They entered a large circular chamber. In the center floated a three-dimensional image of Earth, blue and beautiful. But around it were red flashing points. Armand felt cold. "What are those?" he asked. Lyra's face became serious. "Our enemies," she said. They followed. "My escape signal. They are near your solar system." Armand's stomach tightened. "If they find me here, they will attack." "Attack Earth?" he asked in fear. "Yes." The word hit him like a stone. "But why?" he demanded. "We did nothing." "For them, your planet is just a location," she replied calmly. "They do not value life like we do." Armand looked at the glowing image of Earth, his home, his people, everything he knew, all in danger because of something beyond their understanding. Lyra turned toward him. "When my pod crashed, I lost most of my energy. I could not defend myself. I hid in your city." She paused. "If someone cruel had found me, they would have reported strange activity. My enemies would have detected it." Armand understood slowly. "And they would destroy Earth to capture you." "Yes." Silence filled the chamber. "You saved." "More than just me," she said quietly. "By protecting me for those few minutes, you protected your world." Armand shook his head slightly. "I only gave food." Lyra stepped closer. "In the universe, small actions create large waves." The red flashing points around Earth moved slightly closer. Armand felt fear rising in his chest. "What will happen now?" he asked. Lyra looked at the hologram carefully. "My fleet is strong. We can defend against them. But if battle begins near Earth, your planet may suffer damage." Armand felt helpless. He was just a poor man from a small city. What could he do here among stars and warships? Lyra seemed to read his thoughts. "You are wondering why you are here." He nodded slowly. She lifted her hand. A new hologram appeared. In front of him, it showed him feeding her. The moment replayed in soft blue light. "My people study behavior," she explained. "They believe humans are unpredictable. Some are violent, some are selfish. But you showed another path." Armand felt embarrassed seeing himself like that. "You proved something important," she continued, "that humanity has potential." He looked at her carefully. "What kind of potential?" She smiled slightly. "To become allies." The word echoed in his mind. "Allies. With us." "Yes." The chamber doors opened again. More beings entered. They wore formal armor, decorated with shining symbols. They looked at Armand with serious expressions. Lyra stood tall. "He is the human who saved me," she announced. The beings studied him in silence. Armand felt press. The large chamber was silent. The red enemy signals around Earth were blinking faster now. Each flash felt like a warning. Armand could not take his eyes off the glowing image of his planet, so small, so fragile. Lyra stood beside him, calm but serious. The alien commanders watched him closely, as if they were measuring something inside him. Finally, one of the tall, armored leaders stepped forward. His voice was deep and steady. "The enemy fleet will reach your solar system within hours." Armand's chest tightened. "Hours, yes," Lyra answered softly. "We can stop them. But if they fight near Earth, your world may suffer damage." Armand felt powerless. He was just one man. No weapons, no training, no special skills. He looked at Lyra. "Why are you telling me this? I cannot fight your enemies." Lyra studied his face carefully. "Because this decision involves you." He blinked in confusion. "Me?" She raised her hand, and the hologram of Earth slowly disappeared. In its place appeared two glowing paths of light. "One path leads back to your normal life," she said. "We erase your memory of tonight. You return home. You forget me. You forget this ship. You live peacefully." Armand listened quietly. "And the second path?" he asked. Lyra's eyes glowed softly. "You leave Earth with us. You become a bridge between our worlds. You learn our knowledge. You stand with us." The words felt unreal. Leave Earth. Leave everything he knew. His small room, his city, his simple life. "But why would you need me?" he asked again. One of the commanders answered this time, "Because humans think differently. You solve problems in unexpected ways. You are emotional, creative, brave in strange moments." Lyra looked at him gently. "You gave your last food without calculation. That kind of heart is rare." Armand felt nervous under their attention. "I am not special," he said honestly. Lyra gave a small smile. "Sometimes special people do not know they are special." The chamber grew quiet again. Suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the ship. The red signals returned, now much closer to Earth. One of the alien officers spoke quickly in their language. The hologram changed to show dark shapes entering the outer edge of the solar system. Armand felt cold. "They are here," Lyra said calmly. The commanders began giving orders. Blue lights moved across the walls. The entire ship vibrated slightly. Lyra turned back to Armand. "You must choose now." His mind raced. If he went back, he could live safely. He would never know what happened in space. Maybe Earth would survive. Maybe not if he stayed. He would enter a war beyond imagination. Fear filled him. But then he remembered something simple. The moment he gave her food, he did not think about reward. He only thought about doing what felt right. He looked at Earth's hologram again. Millions of people, families, children. They had no idea danger was near. Armand took a slow breath. "If I return home," he asked quietly, "and Earth is attacked, will I remember that I could have helped?" Lyra stayed silent. For a moment, "No," she said honestly. "But somewhere inside you, something may feel missing." That answer changed everything. Armand lifted his head. "I do not want to forget," he said firmly. The commanders watched him closely. "I am scared," he admitted. "I do not understand your technology. I am not a soldier. But if my world is in danger, I cannot just walk away." Lyra's eyes shined brighter. "You choose the second path?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "Yes." The chamber lights softened. The tension in the air shifted. One of the commanders stepped forward. Then, he must be prepared. A new hologram appeared around Arman's body. Blue light scanned him from head to toe. He felt a warm energy pass through him. "What is happening?" he asked nervously. "We are enhancing your understanding," Lyra explained. "Not changing who you are, only expanding your mind." Suddenly, images flashed before his eyes. Stars, galaxies, alien languages, advanced ships. Battle strategies. It did not hurt, but it felt overwhelming. He fell to one knee. Lyra quickly supported him. "Breathe," she said gently. After a few seconds, the images slowed. Arman looked up again. The universe no longer felt completely unknown. He could understand some of the symbols on the screens now. Not perfectly, but enough. The commander seemed satisfied. "He will serve as human representative," one of them declared. Arman stood slowly. "Representative," he repeated. Lyra nodded. Double quotes, "Yes. If we win this battle, Earth will not be just a small planet anymore. It will become known." Another alarm echoed. The enemy ships were now visible near Jupiter's orbit. The battle was about to begin. Lyra looked at him seriously. "This is your final chance to step back." Arman looked at the glowing stars beyond the ship's window. He remembered the broken bench, the empty lunchbox, the simple life he had before. Then he looked at Earth, his home. "I am not stepping back," he said quietly. Lyra smiled for the first time. Not as a commander's daughter, but as someone who truly respected him. "Then stand with us," she said. Outside the massive ship, hundreds of alien warships began to form defensive positions around Earth. The war for the planet had begun, and a poor human who once had nothing now stood at the center of destiny. The stars outside the command ship no longer looked peaceful. They looked like a battlefield waiting to explode. Arman stood beside Lyra on the main observation deck. In front of them, a massive transparent screen showed space in real time. Dozens of sleek silver ships from Lyra's fleet moved into position around Earth. Far in the distance, dark shapes appeared. The enemy fleet, they were not shining like Lyra's ships. They were rough, sharp, and black like broken metal. Red lights pulsed across their surface like angry eyes. Arman felt fear rise inside him. "This is because of me?" he asked quietly. Lyra shook her head. "No, this is because of power and control. They seek dominance, not you." An alien officer spoke quickly. Symbols flashed across the air. "They're charging weapons," Lyra translated calmly. The first blast came without warning. A red beam shot across space and hit one of Lyra's outer ships. The screen flashed white for a second. The ship's shield held, but cracks of energy spread across it. Arman's heart pounded. The fleet responded instantly. Blue beams fired back, lighting up space like lightning. The silence of space made it more frightening. No explosion sounds, only flashes of destruction. Arman watched in shock as ships moved with impossible speed. "This is war," he whispered. "Yes," Lyra said softly. Suddenly, one of the enemy ships changed direction. It was not aiming at Lyra's fleet. It was heading straight toward Earth's. Arman's breath stopped. "They're trying to bypass the defense line," an officer warned. The hologram zoomed in. The dark ship was smaller, but extremely fast. It slipped between two defending vessels. Lyra's face became serious. "If it reaches orbit, it can strike major cities." Arman's mind raced. "Why not destroy it now?" he asked quickly. "'Tis using a shield that absorbs direct attacks," Lyra replied. "If we fire full power near Earth, your planet may suffer damage." The dark ship moved closer. Arman stared at the screen. Think. Think. He remembered. Something simple. Humans were not the strongest, not the fastest, but they were creative. "Can you block its path?" he asked suddenly. "We are trying," an officer answered, "but it adapts." Armand stepped closer to the hologram. "Humans don't always attack directly," he said. "Sometimes we distract, we confuse." Lyra looked at him carefully. "Explain." Armand pointed at the enemy ship. "It expects you to fire from the front. That is why its shield is strongest there." The officers adjusted the hologram to show shield strength levels. Armand continued. "Send smaller ships to chase it. Not to destroy, just to move around it fast. Make it turn again and again." Lyra's eyes narrowed in interest. "Force it to adjust shield direction repeatedly," she said softly. "Yes," Armand nodded. "If it keeps changing shield focus, maybe it becomes unstable." The commanders quickly discussed in their language. Seconds later, Lyra gave the order. 5 smaller silver ships broke formation and rushed toward the enemy vessel. They did not fire heavy weapons. They moved quickly around it, circling like insects. The enemy ship turned sharply to target one, then another, then another. "It's red." Lights flickered as it adjusted shields repeatedly. Armand watched closely. Now he whispered. Lyra understood instantly. A larger defense ship fired a precise blue beam knot at the front, but slightly below the enemy center. The shield flickered. For 1 second, it weakened. A second beam struck the same spot. The dark ship exploded in a silent burst of red light. Armand's heart jumped. "It worked," he breathed. The officers looked at him with new respect. Lyra turned toward him slowly. That was a human tactic. He nodded, still staring at the fading explosion. "We are not the strongest," he said quietly, "but we survive because we adapt." Outside, the battle continued. More enemy ships advanced, but something had changed. The alien fleet adjusted its strategy. Instead of direct power, they used movement, angles, surprise human ideas mixed with alien technology. One by one, enemy ships began to fall back. The red signals around Earth slowly decreased. Armand felt hope rising. Suddenly, a loud vibration shook the command deck. A massive enemy battleship appeared from behind the moon, much larger than the others. Dark, silent, powerful, its surface glowed with deep red energy. Lyra's expression hardened. That is their flagship. The battleship aimed directly at Earth. Energy gathered at its front, forming a huge red sphere. Armand felt cold fear. "If that fires," he whispered, "it could break through planetary shields." Lyra finished. There was no time for complex plans. The red sphere grew brighter. Space became quiet again. No red lights, no enemy ships, only distant stars shining peacefully. Armand stood on the command deck, staring at Earth below. The blue planet rotated slowly, calm and beautiful, like nothing had happened, but everything had changed. Inside the ship, alien officers moved with relief. Some screens showed damage reports. Others showed the enemy fleet retreating far beyond the solar system. Lyra stepped beside him. "It is over," she said softly. Armand let out a long breath he did not realize he was holding. "Earth is safe." "Yes, the enemy fleet has retreated. They will not return soon. They suffered heavy losses." Armand nodded slowly. For a moment, he just watched his planet, his small city, his broken bench, his simple room. They were still there. Lyra looked at him carefully. "You helped save your world today." He shook his head slightly. "I only gave ideas." "Sometimes ideas are stronger than weapons," she replied. The main chamber doors opened. The alien commanders entered again, walking in a formal line. Their armor shined softly under the blue light. They stopped in front of Armand, one of the tallest commanders spoke. "Human Armand, you stood beside us in battle. You showed courage without training, strategy without experience, loyalty without reward." Armand felt uncomfortable. Under their attention, "I just did what felt right," he said honestly. The commander nodded slowly. "That is why you are valuable." A hologram appeared in the center of the room once more. It showed Earth, but now there were no red signals around it. Instead, a soft silver circle formed around the planet. "This marks the beginning of alliance," Lyra explained. "Your world is now under our protection." Armin's eyes widened. "Protection? Yes. We will not control your planet. We will not interfere with your leaders, but we will watch. And if danger comes again, we will stand with you." He felt something warm inside his chest. For the first time, Earth was not alone in the universe. Lyra stepped closer. "There is one final matter," she said gently. Armand looked at her. "You still have a choice," she continued. "You may remain with us, travel among stars, learn our knowledge, see worlds beyond imagination." The stars outside the window seemed to call to him. Unknown planets, new civilizations, endless adventure. Then she continued softly, "Or you may return home, live your life. No one will know what you did. You will carry this memory alone." He thought carefully. A week ago, he was worried about one meal. Now he was choosing between Earth and the universe. He walked closer to the transparent wall and placed his hand against it. Earth filled his view. "That planet," he said quietly, "is where I belong." Lyra watched him silently. "I don't need fame," he continued. "I don't need power. If my world is safe, that is enough." Lyra smiled, not as a commander's daughter, but as a friend. "Then you will return home," she said. The commanders nodded in agreement. Before he could speak again, Lyra lifted her hand. A small silver device appeared in her palm. It looked simple, like a thin bracelet. "This is for you," she said. He looked confused. "What is it?" "It is not a weapon," she explained. "It contains knowledge, energy, a connection. If Earth ever faces danger again, you will not be powerless." She gently placed the bracelet on his wrist. It adjusted perfectly. The faint blue symbol on his skin glowed once, then blended with the bracelet. "You will also find your life improving," she added softly. "How?" he asked. "We cannot openly reward you, but opportunities will appear. Doors will open. You will not struggle as before." Armand understood. Not magic, not sudden riches, but chances, the kind he never had before. The ship began to move slowly. "We will return you to the same place," Lyra said. The blue beam surrounded him again. He felt light, less the command. Deck faded away. The next second, he was standing behind the broken wall again. The streetlights were back on. Cars were moving normally. People walked past him like any other night. He looked at the sky. It was dark and peaceful. No purple color. No massive ship, only stars. For a moment, he wondered if it had all been a dream. Then he looked at his wrist. The silver bracelet was there, soft, real. He smiled slightly. Days passed. Strange things began to happen. He was offered a better job without asking. A man he once helped recommended him for work. Small chances slowly turned into big ones. His life was changing, not because of luck, but because the universe had noticed him. One evening, he returned to the same bench where everything began. He carried a simple lunchbox again. He looked at the sky and whispered, "Thank you." Far beyond Earth, hidden between stars, a silver ship moved silently, and inside it, Lyra looked at a small blue planet glowing in the darkness. A simple human, one commander said quietly. Lyra smiled. No, she replied. A reminder, back. On Earth, Armand opened his lunchbox. He saw a hungry child nearby. Without hesitation, he stood up. Kindness had changed his destiny once, and he knew now even the smallest act could echo across the stars.